In this video, I'm going to talk about where I hire writers from. And I do hire writers for a lot of the content on my Amazon affiliate sites. However, on Niche Site Project, I do all the writing there myself. Let me rewind a bit and tell you about the first time I had a website. I was brand new to WordPress. I didn't know anything about internet marketing. I did really bad keyword research and ended up with kind of a terrible site. But I was trying to learn, right? So I was like, even if this doesn't work out, at least I'll learn a few things. When I sat down to write that first blog post, I had no clue what to do. All right, I was looking at the blank screen, the cursor was blinking, and I was just like, I don't know how to write this. And it took forever. It probably took me like 4 or 5 hours to write about 500 words of kind of low quality content, and there were a lot of mistakes, and it just kind of sucked. All right, now fast forward to a few years later, I actually published a crazy amount of content. In fact, I published about 1.33 posts per day for about 5 months. So that's about 200 articles, all in about 5 months, tens of thousands of words, and it ended up doing a really amazing thing to my website. Traffic went up dramatically. I ended up making a lot of money, and it allowed me to test the keyword golden ratio at scale. Very cool. So published 200 posts in about 5 months, which is crazy to think about how I was struggling with that first post. But how did I do that? Well, I did it because I didn't write any of it. I'll tell you a little bit about how I hire writers. I'll tell you about my go-to freelancing platform where I hire most all of the writers. I'll give you a tip so that you don't get kicked out of UPWORK, which I'm giving it away. That's the place I go to. Because if you post your job posting and you violate a couple of the rules, they will take your job posting off. And then if you make the mistake again, they kick you out. There's a couple things you could do to help prevent that. And I'll also tell you about a couple other sources that you can find writers that are pretty rarely used, at least in the affiliate marketing world. Now, before I go on too far, I'll give you all the templates that I use for content, the templates that I use to hire people, fire people, give them instructions, and the stuff that I used when I published all those posts. Just follow the link in the description and you'll be able to enter your name and email address and you'll be good to go. By the way, I'm Doug Cunnington, founder of Niche Site Project. And if you're new to the channel, have a look around, subscribe if you like what you see. So my preferred marketplace is UPWORK. I know a lot of people trying to find content in different areas, or maybe they use another service like TextBroker or iWriter. But I find that for the quality, I can usually get really good quality for a very reasonable price on UPWORK. Let me explain my philosophy. I want to try and find someone brand new to UPWORK. I want to find someone who needs to get some reviews, and maybe they don't know their way around very well and they're just getting started. The reason why is a lot of times you'll be able to get a very highly qualified writer for a very reasonable price because they're getting started and they want to get reviews. So with that in mind, I've been able to hire a former journalist. A lot of my writers are grad students who are studying English or journalism or something in the liberal arts area related to writing. And you end up with very highly qualified writers who are very good at what they do. And because they are just starting on UPWORK, they're very much willing to work for a lower rate so that they can get good reviews. And that is what my job postings reflect. It's like, hey, I'm willing to work with someone brand new to UPWORK. I write good reviews for you. I have good feedback when someone looks at my client rating or whatever. I have a lot of good reviews. And the other part is my job template is very detailed. All right. It covers a lot of the questions that a prospective writer may have, which is really good because if you look at some of the other postings, which I've browsed to see what the competition is doing, some job postings are need a writer, I need 10,000 words by tomorrow, rush job. They're like one line. They're sort of unclear what they're looking for, and they are just bad. So mine is very thorough. It's thought out very well. I've developed it over a few years, and it's very clear. So when someone sees my job posting, they can tell that it's a well thought out job posting, and I tell them, hey, I have a template for you to use. I have sort of a style guideline for you to use as well, and I'm organized. You want to work with me. That is what my job posting gives out to the world. Like, I'm competent and I can write clear instructions, and you will enjoy working with me. So definitely check out the templates. I just give them away for free. You just have to sign up for the email list, and then I'll send them right away. Super helpful though. So that is my philosophy. I want to hire someone who is qualified, but they are new to Upwork. Now, the downside is at some point, if they're doing a good job, they will be able to raise their rates. So sometimes I end up working with someone for maybe 4 to 8 weeks or something like that. I'll slowly give people raises if they're doing a good job. I don't want to lose them. And I usually just hire them for like a trial job first, like 1 to 2 articles. And then after that, I'll hire them for 1 to 2 articles over and over again. I actually prefer hiring people on smaller gigs rather than hiring them to do like 20 articles, right? I would never hire someone to do 20 articles and put it all in one gig, because it's good to have like small finish lines, small milestones over and over again. If they have 20, that's a lot for them to think about. If they have 2 more to write, well, they're thinking, hey, I can write 2 more in 1 every couple days or whatever. So that is sort of my philosophy. Hire them for trial jobs. Hire people that are interested in getting good reviews from you, and that they're highly qualified. Now, a couple of the questions that I often hear is, what geography do you try and hire people from? Do you just hire people from the US? Do you hire people from other countries or whatever? So I don't care where someone's located. I don't filter on that. I don't filter on their job rating. I don't filter on whether they're experienced. I don't filter on the success rate. None of that stuff. I just look for people that can write in American English. All right. I want them to understand slang. I want them to be able to communicate. So what I do to figure that out is, in the job posting, I'll list the whatever I have in my job posting, and then I'll ask some follow-up questions. All right. I don't want to interview them. I don't want a cover letter. I don't care the stock crap that the person may send. I will ask a few questions. You can put your own style in there. All right. Put your own style about what you want to have in your questions. But for me, I ask them, are you comfortable delivering this set of work in the amount of time that I say? So can you deliver it by Friday, end of day? Straight up. It's a yes or no question, so I just ask that. Another question I might ask is, can you write in American English? Please explain. So it's a yes or no question, but then they also have to write a few sentences there as well. All right, so I don't accept an answer if it's just like yes or no. I want them to tell me a little story in 2 to 3 sentences, basically. And if they are slightly entertaining, that's awesome, right? Like, I want them to demonstrate their personality in that area. Another question I might ask is around like their interest, right? So I may just say, are you interested in the topic that I'm asking you to write about? You could even make up some other topic, but I find that is good if they have some interest in the specific topic. If they don't, they'll usually say, hey, I don't have an interest in that topic. However, I can learn about it, and I used to have an interest, or my brother-in-law or sister or whatever is, very interested in that topic, so I know some of the details about it. The point is, you get them in those follow-up questions to write something custom. A lot of times what happens is people will apply to a job and they'll send just a generic cover letter, which is basically garbage. I don't want a generic cover letter. It tells me nothing, and a lot of times it's not specific to me. So I don't want a cover letter. I say, don't send me a cover letter, but I do ask like 3 to 4 questions where they have to give me some response in a few sentences. Very important. In those few sentences, you will know if they can write and communicate. All right. They'll also show a little personality. You can say, hey, I'd like for you to be funny. Or you can say, hey, I'd like for you to be really serious. And you can have them demonstrate that in those answers. So that is like number 1 tip right there. If you can get them to write some, you're going to get a lot of info from them. So now I'm going to tell you how to not get kicked out of Upwork. So I had a few people contact me over the years and they said, hey, I used your template, but I tweaked it a little bit, and Upwork marked it as violating the terms of service. And then they subsequently kicked me out after I tried to reapply a few times. Usually that is because you've either used the word Amazon or reviews. I haven't tested this because I don't want to get kicked out myself, but the point is there used to be like a scam going on, apparently. I've sort of put this together over time. So I think what happened was people who sold products on Amazon they would hire people to write fake reviews. So they would say, hey, write reviews on Amazon for me and submit it. And they would hire people from all over the world to write these fake reviews, and then it sort of tainted the reviews on Amazon. Upwork took some action and said, hey, well, we're not going to support that. So if we see anything about reviews or if we see anything about Amazon, it sets off some red flag. And I think it's AI detecting it. So if they just find those words in there, they automatically like shut it down. And I've actually had a couple issues where they said, you're violating the terms of service. And I'm like, where? I have no clue like what I'm doing, and I've used this template before. So I think at some point I may have used review in there, and that is a no-no. So what I recommend is you just try to hire a ghostwriter for a blog. There's no issues hiring a ghostwriter. And then after you go through the process, you can, of hiring someone, you actually hire them, then you can tell them, hey, you're reviewing products, here is the template to use, blah, blah, blah. But nowhere in your job title or job description should you use anything about Amazon or reviews. Don't say either one of those words at all, and you should be okay. So one of the other issues I hear from people about hiring writers is, I try to hire some writers, but they always turn in stuff late, or the quality's really bad, or I keep getting excuses after excuse, right? It's really frustrating, and you don't know what's acceptable, right? So what I recommend is you just accept one excuse from a certain person, right? So things happen, things out of control. Someone may have a sick child, maybe they get into a car accident, maybe just something out of their control. Maybe, actually this happened to one of my freelancers. There was like a hurricane, right? There was a hurricane and they were like, the power went out for a couple days, and it was true, right? Like they were good up until a point, and then they like went offline for a while, and then they were back, and it was literally a hurricane. And I knew there was a hurricane, so that was okay. But if you get an excuse and you get another excuse after you've let the person have another chance, usually that is never going to go away. They will just keep making excuses. And I don't know why that is. Some people are just less professional. Some people culturally may have a different way that they work or something. I have no idea, but don't deal with it, right? You can accept whatever you want to accept. And I say accept one excuse, things can happen, but after that, don't accept any other excuses. One of the main reasons I like to work on Upwork is you do have some protection, right? So when you hire someone, you put money in escrow. So the money goes in escrow and they know the money's there, and you don't release the money until you approve it. So if they turn in bad work or they turn in work late, you can ask them to follow up. Like, hey, you were supposed to turn this in yesterday. It's late. Can you send it to me immediately? If they don't reply, or if they say, no, I need like 3 more days, you can say, hey, I'm ending the contract, and you can get a refund. So that's one of the main reasons I use Upwork. You have protection as a client, and the freelancer has protection too. I mean, you're putting money in escrow and all that stuff. That's part of the reason it costs a little bit of money to use the platform on Upwork. They're providing a service for you, right? So that service costs money, and you have to pay a little bit extra. It's a percentage, and in my opinion, it's totally worth it. I use Upwork for almost all of my freelancing needs, and there's some pros and cons to using Upwork. So number one, especially in the writing aspect, Upwork usually can provide you higher quality writers for a cheaper price than other services. So if you're thinking of like Text Broker or iWriter, or even a dedicated service around content where they're uploading to your site and that sort of thing, usually you'll be able to find a better writer for a little cheaper on Upwork. Of course, the downside to that is you have to do the administrative work and sort of project management and just manage the person. Another great thing about Upwork is a huge marketplace, so it's very, very easy to find a lot of writers very fast. So typically if I put a job posting up, I'll leave it for about 2 days and I'll have usually about 20 to 25 proposals, and I have to whittle it down, right? So usually there's only like a handful of them that are any good, maybe like 20%, which is great because then I have about 5 people to choose from. So the point is, it's a huge marketplace and it's very easy to find a lot of writers pretty quickly. And further, I've already kind of mentioned this, but from the client perspective, you have certain rights and you only have to pay for work if it's actually done. And the money goes into escrow, so you have that protection. And from the freelancer side, they also have that protection as well. So no one's going to get cheated. The money actually goes into the escrow account and is, it's good to go at that point. A couple of the cons on Upwork are sometimes it's a little challenging to come up with a job posting. It may take a couple tries to find the right sort of person that you want to work with. But if you are hiring a writer, I highly encourage you to just use the templates as, from me, as a starting point. Put your own flavor into it and stuff like that. Put in your own words, highly recommend that. But if you use it, it's a great starting point. One of the cons is actually one of the pros, and there are so many freelancers on Upwork, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So as I mentioned, if you post a job posting, you may have like 24 different proposals to look through. And if you don't have a quick way to just like sort people out, then you may end up spending a whole lot of time looking through everyone's proposal and resume and their portfolio and all that stuff. So in general, I would recommend that you just kind of figure out how to deal with that and don't try to treat everyone like as the number one person, if that makes sense. Like if someone has a bad resume or they made some mistakes in writing their response to your questions, that's a sign. You could just take them off the list, right? So figure out a way to whittle it down, but it can be overwhelming until you figure that out for yourself. One of the other issues, again, it's sort of the converse of the way I try and hire people, is there are a lot of new freelancers on Upwork who are just really dipping their toes into freelancing. They don't know if they want to do it, but maybe they heard their friend was writing and they wanted to try it out. And they thought, hey, I want to make some money on the side too. That means they can easily flake out. If they are just trying it out and they don't have much skin in the game, they may not care very much. This is especially true if it's people that are not like professional writers in some capacity. If it's like a journalist or someone who has written for like a newspaper or magazines or something like that, they have a professional reputation that they need to uphold, right? So they don't want to go out and do bad work or flake out on people. However, if it's someone who, let's say they're a college student, maybe they don't really care that much because they don't have a professional reputation yet. So some people can flake out, and that's the downside with freelancers. It's great because you could hire people like really quickly in like one day from across the world. At the same time, those people can disappear. They can go on vacation and not tell you. People flake out and just disappear sometimes. And that is, one of the major cons of working with a freelancer, especially a brand new freelancer who, like I said, may just be getting started, dipping their toes into the Upwork pool of writers. And last, like I mentioned before, people can make excuses. You may run into that for any like freelancing situation, but if you're hiring a freelancer versus like a dedicated service, for example, there's probably a higher chance, it's a risk, that a freelancer can make excuses and stuff. If you're dealing with like a dedicated service, like usually they will figure it out on their end. Now, you pay a premium price for that, but they usually take care of it for you. All right, way earlier in the video, I talked about a couple unique ideas, 2 unique ideas that I was going to share with you, places to find writers that maybe you didn't think of looking before. So number 1 is Craigslist. So there are, I have no idea how many different localities for Craigslist, but there are job boards and gigs on all of those. And you could potentially go to like large or medium-sized cities, put up a job listing. Obviously, you don't have to be local to them, but a lot of people do use Craigslist. So you could post a job posting and hire people in bigger cities and a completely different freelancing marketplace, and probably get really good writers. Again, this is going to be a little bit more risky, right? You don't have all the protection and stuff that I mentioned about Upwork with an escrow. You would have to figure out how to work with them directly. So generally, I would probably say if you could pay people via PayPal, it's going to be pretty universally accepted, but some people may use other apps, of which there are tons of them out there now, to pay people. I think there's even like an Apple Pay situation. I don't know, I never use it, but you have to figure out how to pay them, and all the infrastructure and stuff that Upwork takes care of, you would have to figure out how to handle it on your own. The upside, of course, is there's an endless number of Craigslist localities, and you could hire probably lots of people really fast, especially in like bigger city situations. Another place that you could hire people is within your own network. So think about your family and friends. When people learn that I work online and work for myself now, they're like, oh, well, like, what do you do? How do you do it? Can you tell me more? And a little sliver that you could sort of share with them is around like writing content. So I actually, when I first got started, I remember I hired my younger sister, who is an adult, but she had an interest in some of the topics that I was writing about. And I was like, hey, do you want to write a couple articles for me if you're interested? And she was like, yeah, sure. So she wrote a couple for me. It was pretty cool. I paid her, pretty good rate compared to just a general writer, because she's my sister and everything. But it turned out great. She enjoyed it, and it gave her a chance to like share her knowledge on a specific topic that she knew something about. So you could look in your network and potentially hire someone that you already know, especially if they are looking for extra work. And I mean, I could just tell you right now, a lot of people are always interested in some sort of side gig or earning a little extra money. Everyone seems like can use a little extra money. So I would encourage you to look inside your network. Of course, the downside with that is you need to be able to work well with like your family members or your friends or whoever, and make sure it's not going to impact the relationship, right? You don't want to have like any issues in that area because you try to hire them for a writer or anything like that. So keep it in mind, and for me, I prefer to work with freelancers. Go to Upwork, hire new people on Upwork, work with them for a while, give them raises if they're doing a good job. At some point, they will graduate beyond what I can pay them, and that'll be great for them, right? That's what they want, to work on Upwork longer and to be able to raise their rates and work with higher end clients. So if you have any tips for me around hiring on Upwork, let me know in the comments, or if you have any questions about hiring, let me know there as well. So again, if you're new to the channel, have a look around. Please consider subscribing. If you found this video helpful, please hit the thumbs up. Thanks.